going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
Ryan, this way, please. Blake Lively!
Ryan Reynolds has always been known for his quick wit and humor, but this time, his joke may have cost him and Blake Lively their carefully built reputation. During the SNL 50th anniversary event, Ryan made a tone-deaf comment about their ongoing $400 million lawsuit, a moment that left the audience laughing uncomfortably and Blake visibly furious. The couple had been trying to maintain a composed front amidst the legal chaos surrounding them, but Ryan's ill-timed humor shattered that illusion in seconds. Blake had spent months crafting a victim narrative in the media, portraying herself as the target of harassment and a smear campaign. Yet with one careless remark, Ryan undermined all her efforts. The public couldn't help but question why he would joke about something so serious if her claims were genuine. The fallout was immediate, with online discussions erupting over whether Blake's story was fabricated. For someone as media savvy as Ryan, this wasn't just a mistake, it was a disaster. And what made it worse? This wasn't the first time his humor had landed him in hot water. But this time the stakes were higher than ever, and as we'll see, this was just the beginning of their unraveling.
Ryan, this way, please. Blake Lively!
How's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
When Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds arrived at the SNL 50th anniversary event, all eyes were on them, not just because of their celebrity status, but because of the storm brewing behind the scenes. The couple had been hit with lawsuits from Justin Baldoni accusing them of defamation and seeking $400 million in damages. Yet, they walked into the event as if nothing was wrong, posing for paparazzi and smiling for camera. But if you looked closely, cracks in their facade were already showing. Blake wore a stunning floral gown that screamed confidence, but her body language told a different story. She avoided eye contact with reporters and dodged questions about the lawsuit entirely. Meanwhile, Ryan seemed relaxed, too relaxed, cracking jokes and acting like the controversy didn't exist. Insiders later revealed that Blake was on edge throughout the evening, worried that Ryan might say something reckless. Her fears were justified when he made that infamous joke about their legal troubles live on air. It wasn't just an embarrassing moment, it was a turning point that exposed their vulnerability to the world. And as we'll explore next, Ryan's history with controversial humor only added fuel to the fire.
Come here, girl.
Who are you? Oh, I'm Deadpool. And I guess you're Deadpool too. But in here, everybody calls me Nice Pool. Oh my goodness, wait till you see Lady Pool. She is gorgeous. She just had a baby too, and can't even tell. I don't think you're supposed to say that. That's okay. I identify as a feminist.
Ryan Reynolds is known for his sharp tongue and sarcastic wit, a trait that has made him a fan favorite in movies like Deadpool. But behind the laughs lies a pattern of humor that often crosses the line. Take his feud with Justin Baldoni, for example. Ryan didn't just ignore Baldoni's warnings during their public spat, he mocked him relentlessly in Deadpool, using his Nice Pool character to parody Baldoni's personality. He even took aim at Baldoni's views on feminism and pregnancy, a move that many found distasteful. This isn't an isolated incident either. On the set of Blade Trinity, co-star Wesley Snipes reportedly clashed with Ryan over his constant joking, calling him unprofessional. Now, it seems, history is repeating itself. But this time, Blake, who's paying the price for Ryan's antics, his joke on SNL wasn't just tone deaf. It was damaging to Blake's credibility at a time when she needed public support more than ever. For someone who prides himself on being calculated and clever, this misstep was anything but strategic. And it didn't take long for people to start questioning whether Blake's victim narrative held up under scrutiny. Blake Lively had spent months meticulously crafting her image as a victim in her feud with Justin Baldoni. She accused him of harassment and claimed he orchestrated a smear campaign against her, allegations that garnered significant media attention and sympathy from fans. But all of that came crashing down after Ryan's ill-advised joke on SNL. Suddenly, people began to question everything. If Blake was truly being harassed, why would her husband make light of such a serious situation? Was this all part of an elaborate PR strategy? The narrative she had worked so hard to build began to crumble under public scrutiny. Social media erupted with debates over whether Blake had exaggerated or even fabricated her claims for attention or leverage in Hollywood. Critics pointed out inconsistencies in her story, and highlighted how quickly public opinion can shift when trust is broken. For Blake, who has always been seen as America's sweetheart, this was more than just bad press. It was a full-blown crisis of credibility. And as we'll see next, her previous controversies only added weight to these doubts.
Her way through the process to take over the movie and used her PR people to try and destroy Justin.
During an episode of The Adam Carolla Show,
after he got super famous from the first Deadpool, then things kind of changed. I think he was like, see, you guys see? And then I think would I work with him again? No.
No.
Blake Lively has long been admired for her beauty and charm, but recent events have cast a shadow over her once flawless image. Critics argue that she has become more focused on self-promotion than authenticity, a claim that gained traction during her press tour for It Ends With Us. Instead of highlighting the film's message about domestic abuse, Blake turned interviews into opportunities to promote her hair care brand and Ryan's gin company. Journalists were even banned from asking questions about domestic violence at some premieres, a move that many found insensitive given the movie's subject matter. These missteps painted Blake as someone more concerned with PR than substance, a perception further reinforced by her alleged behavior on set. Reports surfaced of her controlling tendencies during filming and awkward interactions with journalists, including one incident where she humiliated a reporter by making an offhand comment about pregnancy weight gain. All these factors combined to create an image far removed from the relatable star fans thought they knew. And when Justin Baldoni launched his legal counterattack against her claims, things went from bad to worse.
That they made the cone heads with? Are those edible?
Edible? No, and based on them being made in 1975, I'd assume that they're highly toxic. Made in 1975, I'd assume that they're highly toxic.
Oh, okay. So if somebody, hypothetically took a couple of nibbles backstage and, got excited, should they go to the hospital or should they?
Yes, they should go to the hospital right away.
Good.
Justin Baldoni didn't take Blake Lively's accusations lying down. Instead, he fought back with lawsuits of his own that turned the tables on Hollywood's golden couple. He filed a $400 million defamation lawsuit against Blake and Ryan, while also suing the New York Times for $250 million over what he called false reporting. To make matters worse for Blake, Baldoni released text messages suggesting she had invited him to her trailer multiple times, evidence that directly contradicted her harassment claims. These revelations sent shockwaves through Hollywood and cast doubt on everything Blake had said about their feud. Suddenly, she wasn't seen as a victim anymore. Instead, people began questioning whether she had manipulated events to serve her own agenda. Baldoni's legal team also accused her of using a digital army to spread misinformation about him online, a claim that only deepened public skepticism toward her narrative. As more details emerged from court proceedings, it became clear that this wasn't just another celebrity spat. It was a high-stakes battle with potentially career-ending consequences for both sides.
First of all, congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump. His wardrobe was beautiful.
I know,
Corey's wardrobe was gorgeous.
He's
Those
so
high-waisted pants.
He's so great.
I wish men wore high-waisted pants like that still. Or the father with his...
The fallout from Justin Baldoni's lawsuits didn't just affect Blake Lively, it sent shockwaves through Hollywood as well. Studios began reconsidering projects involving Blake and Ryan Reynolds amid concerns over their tarnished reputations. Even some of their closest friends in Hollywood distanced themselves from the couple during this turbulent time, a stark contrast to their once untouchable status as industry darlings. Behind closed doors, insiders whispered about Blake's alleged manipulative behavior on set and questioned whether she had used her influence to control narratives in other situations too. For years, she had been seen as America's sweetheart, a reputation carefully cultivated through PR campaigns. But now cracks were starting to show in that polished exterior.
Into the movie, not that I was counting, but I thought that was one of the best first kisses I've seen on a movie.
Oh boy, Justin Baldoni, you see, we've been talking to you all morning long. Good morning, good to see you.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. You guys are such lights.
We love your film, we love your work, we love what you've done with this book, which has, it sold 6 million copies, Colleen Hoover's book. I've been, in anticipation of you coming here, I went on Reddit to see what people are saying about the book in anticipation of the film. They love the book. So there's millions of fans out there. You are one of those fans. You immediately bought this book right and you wanted to direct it. Why?
Well, I first optioned this book in 2019. And at the time it had sold just under 1 million copies. And I had never read
Why did you read it? Yeah.
Well, I just started Wayfair Studios, and at the time, my book agent, shout out to Johanna Castillo, sent it to me.
And she said, just read it, because I was looking for movies that could be commercial and speak to the human experience. And
Were you reading romance novels?
And I had never read a romance.
Despite desperate attempts by their PR team to salvage their image after Justin Baldoni's lawsuits went public, and despite efforts by both stars themselves, the damage seemed irreparable. Blake Lively avoided interviews, skipped major red carpet events, and even reduced her social media presence in an effort to let the controversy die down. But the public wasn't so quick to forget. Rumors swirled that her PR team was scrambling behind the scenes, reaching out to journalists to spin the narrative in her favor. However, every move they made seemed to backfire. When Blake tried to quietly promote a charity initiative, critics accused her of using it as a distraction from her legal troubles. Meanwhile, Ryan Reynolds' actions only made things worse. His casual attitude and repeated jokes about their situation gave the impression that they weren't taking the lawsuits seriously. A stark contrast to the carefully curated image of a couple under attack. The harder they tried to regain control of the narrative, the more it slipped through their fingers. Hollywood insiders began speculating that this scandal could mark the end of their reign as one of Hollywood's most beloved power couples.
Justin Baldoni sues the New York Times for $250 million over the outlet's Blake Lively harassment story.
The consequences of this scandal weren't limited to public perception. It also had a tangible impact on Blake and Ryan's careers. Studios that once lined up to work with them began reconsidering their collaborations. Rumors emerged that Blake had been quietly dropped from a major film project, while Ryan's future with certain franchises was suddenly in question. Even their endorsements took a hit, with some brands reportedly pausing campaigns featuring the couple until the controversy blew over. What made matters worse was the silence from their A-list friends. People who had once been vocal supporters of Blake and Ryan were now nowhere to be found. This isolation only fueled speculation that Hollywood's elite were distancing themselves from the couple to avoid being dragged into their drama. For two stars who had built their careers on likability and relatability, this was a devastating blow. The industry is unforgiving when it comes to public scandals, and it seemed like Blake and Ryan were learning that lesson the hard way. But as damaging as this was, what came next would truly test their ability to recover. As Justin Baldoni's lawsuits moved forward, one thing became clear. If he won, it could spell the end of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds' status as Hollywood royalty. The $400 million defamation lawsuit alone was enough to bankrupt most people, but for Blake and Ryan, it wasn't just about money. It was about credibility. Losing this case would confirm everything Baldoni had accused them of: manipulation, dishonesty, and abusive power in Hollywood. For years, they had been seen as untouchable, a golden couple who could do no wrong, but now that image was hanging by a thread. And with more people coming forward to share stories about Blake's alleged behavior on set and Ryan's controversial humor, it seemed like public opinion was turning against them for good. Even if they managed to settle the lawsuits out of court, the damage to their reputations might be irreversible. Hollywood is always looking for fresh faces and new talent, and if Blake and Ryan couldn't recover from this scandal quickly, they risked being replaced altogether. Ryan Reynolds thought he could joke his way out of a scandal, but instead, he made things infinitely worse. His ill-timed comment on SNL didn't just embarrass his wife, it exposed cracks in their carefully constructed image and set off a chain reaction that could end their careers altogether. Meanwhile, Blake Lively's months-long effort to portray herself as a victim unraveled before her eyes as public skepticism grew louder with every passing day. With Justin Baldoni fighting back harder than anyone expected and Hollywood elites quietly distancing themselves, the future looks uncertain for one of Tinseltown's most iconic couples. Will they manage to rebuild their reputations? Or is this truly the end of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds as we know them? One thing is certain: Hollywood loves a comeback story. But only time will tell if this couple has what it takes to rise from the ashes.